everybody. Thank you for coming. We're very excited that you're ready to take this journey with us to the world of nursing. My name is Cheryl Gilot, and I'm the course leader this semester. This is Karen Moore, instructor, and Lily Mayfield is the other instructor. So we're your team. We're the ones that are going to guide you through and take you on this trip. Our new nursing title is Nursing in Health and Illness 1, Nursing 120. So Edith Olette is our Director of Nursing. Some of you have had contact with her. She will be down shortly to welcome you and tell you what her role is. So you all have this PowerPoint in your packet. Registration questions in the Admissions Student Services Office. That's all the questions about is the classes I'm taking eligible for nursing, anything to do with registration. We'll be directing toward the admissions office, the registration questions. Health Castle Branch CPR questions. For this summer, it's going to be Karen as your contact person. So if you have problems filling out Castle Branch, and she will be talking about Castle Branch shortly, she's your contact person. And here's my information. Course leader. So I'm not here every day over the summer. So the best way to contact any of us with questions is email. Because if we're not here for 4 or 5 days, we're not going to answer our phone messages. So email is the best way to communicate with all of us. Rhonda Charette is the nursing department secretary. If there's any urgent message questions that you have, you can contact Rhonda. And here's Lily's information, Karen's information, and Melissa Neal is our mental health instructor across the whole curriculum. So she'll be coming in a couple of times during your class to teach some content. So registration deadline. So registration opened today for Nursing 120. So today was the first day that you could register. So the deadline for fall students is June 1st. So hopefully you'll be able to get in before that. December 1st is the deadline for spring admits. So if you don't register, you lose your seat and it goes to somebody on the waiting list. So it's very important that you follow the deadlines. So June 1st for this September. If you have any registration questions, like I said, call Student Services Admissions. Our SNA, those are our student helpers that were here this evening. See, they're all surviving nursing school. They just finished their semester, and they're still smiling. So you can do it, and we're all going to do it together. And we're going to introduce Lacey.
Hi, my name's Lacey.
Come on over, Lacey. Do you want the microphone? That's true.
My name's Lacey Gardner. I am your Student Nurses Association president. Did everybody get one of these fancy SNA flyers? Great, keep your tickets because we've got door prizes. Everybody loves some door prizes. So what we do is we encourage each other. We get involved in the school. We plan fundraising events. We plan community service events. And it's definitely a fun group to get involved in, as well as getting involved in leadership and other cool things that go on at school. Our vice president is Christine Reed. She is a 4th semester student just getting ready to graduate. We have Kylie Flanagan, our liaison. She is a 4th semester student. Caitlin Sadler is our secretary. She is a 2nd semester student. We have Twaneja Brown and Tiffany Norgren. She is our coming on vice president. So welcome everybody. This is going to be great. You're going to have lots of fun and tears make you stronger. So we have a meeting coming in. Our last SNA meeting is this Friday. SNA meets the 1st and 3rd Fridays of the month in the nursing week. usually an A216, but sometimes they get knocked out.
This one on Friday will not be an A216.
It'll be in a different room,
Probably
A220 or something, but you're all welcome to join and to come be a part of it.
Any questions for them?
Questions? Yes.
Do you want to do your raffle right now?
There's a lot of stuff about it. I don't know if do you guys want to do raffles now?
Well, you don't want to stick, if you don't want to stick around, then you can do it now.
Okay. So did you get a ticket too? You didn't get a ticket? Everybody's got a little ticket? I'm sorry? You didn't get a ticket?
Anyone else need a ticket?
Everybody got a ticket? So we got some fun things coming. We've got some water bottles. We've got, so we have these lovely nursing watches that you can clip on your
Uniform.
uniform and it helps
And it's upside down. So you can, when you're taking a pulse.
you just look down.
Yep.
First person, 243-138. 243-138. We have a couple of those. Next we have another. We have a lovely foldable clipboard. It's a nursing clipboard. I use it. I've used it every single semester. 243-178. 243-178. Next, we have a pocket protector with a flashlight, a pen. It's lovely, right? Pocket, you don't get clothes on yourself. 243-087. 243-087. We have, what are we doing next? Pop socket. This was one of our fundraisers this year, or this semester. First semester brought to you by First Semester. Everybody knows what a pop socket was. They're like, what's a pop socket? That was me. 243. What is it? So a pop socket is something that you put on your phone so that, yeah, everybody's got a pop socket. I do now. 243-156. 243-156. Pop socket for you. Next. Badge reel. I call them a duper. That's fine. But it's badge reel. 243-199. 243-199. We're doing everything on there. Nurse patches and all. We got some nurse patches. 243-199.
Some of them didn't go.
Yes, 199. Nope? Okay. Ready to go? Nancy, you got it. Here you go. Okay, next we have another watch. 243-131. 243-131. Oh, there she is. We're gonna do a patch. So you know, y'all are about to find out that you gotta get some patches for your uniform. So now some lucky feller is not gonna have to pay for one. 243-107. 107. No? Okay. Next. 243-084. Patches. You still have to get them sewn on though. Or sew them on yourself. Next, what we got? Water bottles. 243-181. 181. We have a lovely coffee cup, nursing coffee cup. You're going to need a lot of coffee. So you know. 243-182. Or tea, anything with caffeine. Get on it. 243-182. Nope. nursing magnet, celebrate nursing. Y'all are about to be some. 243172. 243172. Next. You want to do another watch? Watch. Here comes another watch. 243166. Nursing watch. Okay, badge wheel?
Yep.
243163. Isn't this fun? Way around. Listen to somebody call numbers. Okay, another watch, 243136. 243136, way back there. We have another magnet, 243125. Way back there. Next, we have a couple more patches. 243194. 243194. Badge reel. 243088. 088. What else we got in there? See, get your steps in. It's even better. You want to call some numbers? Okay, call some numbers.
243196.
It's a watch.
Another magnet. 243146.
Over here.
Yep.
Badge reel.
Badge reel.
Badge reel.
243192.
Do another one.
Okay. 243174.
Another one.
We're gonna do another bottle, water bottle. 143144. 243144.
Awesome.
Magnet. Okay. 243121.
Do the badge reel.
Okay, magnet. 243108. 108. You're welcome. I think there's only 3 more things. Okay. 243132. 132. Okay. 243123. Wait. And then we've got 2 more things.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. 243118. Okay. She's got it. And 1 more, right?
Yeah.
111. 241.
Thanks for your attention.
Yep.
When you see the students around, please ask them questions and
Yes.
their encouragement, advice.
Yes.
We're all a team.
Shoulder to cry on.
So they also organized over here, we could look after, but uniforms that were donated back. So they put them by sizes. So if you're interested in looking for uniforms, you
There's
can look
also
at them.
parent maternity camp here.
Not to give me any ideas now.
No pregnancy during nursing school. Do you want to cover it?
Can be done.
Yeah, we already, I already talked about it.
How's everyone doing?
Great.
Excited? Awesome. I'd like to officially congratulate you. Right? It's not easy to get into nursing school. And so I know, how many people have an anatomy and physiology exam tomorrow? We're going to try to make this an efficient evening and see you all back here in August, right?
We start school in August.
We're going to invite you back a couple days before school officially starts
For the fall semester.
for the fall semester. Okay?
get to know you and give you some tips on how to study, how to get used to the program. We'll have some students come back and interact with you, and we think it's going to be very helpful to you. You're in for a really exciting journey. Nursing today, I mean, the possibilities are endless. You will all get a job when you graduate. Our employment rate is, the last one was 97%, and that was only because there were students that chose not to get a job because they were going back to school. Our NCLEX pass rate was 93.3 this last academic year, so we're well above the national average. I would encourage you to all stay in touch with your faculty, communicate. Does everybody know who their advisor is? Oh my goodness. Not one person knows who their academic advisor is.
Academic advisor. Academic advisor.
Oh, yeah.
But once you're in the nursing program, it switches to a nursing faculty.
So once you're, I mean, you could even do it over the summer. Go down to the A wing, and now that you're in the nursing program, request a nursing advisor. Okay? Always stay in touch with your nursing advisor. You want to stay in touch because you want to make sure that you're on the right track, and it's a good relationship to develop. And I can't stress enough, stay in touch with your student peers, okay? This is not a competition. You're going to need each other, okay? You're going to need to develop relationships, and you're also going to need your family. Okay? I know we say over and over and over again that you cannot work a full-time job during this program. I'm going to say it one more time. You cannot work a full-time job during this program. This is full-time. You can balance work, school, and family. But it takes a lot of organization and a lot of patience, okay? But you need your family, you need your friends. It's a team sport. So, any questions at all? Okay. Have a good rest of the evening. Thank you, students from SMA, because you're all done, right? You're gonna go home and you're in the NCLEX review class. Very good. All right, so long.
Thank you.
So as you've heard, and there's been rumbling, we are changing our NCLEX, our curriculum this semester. It's called concept-based nursing curriculum. So it's concept-based curriculum, so it's CBC it's called. It's conceptual learning, but it's nothing new. That's how we always learn. It's just a different approach to looking at the topics, looking at what we're going to be covering every semester. It helps, this is the evidence that's out there. It helps you learn to organize information into logical mental structures. So instead of learning about pneumonia and peptic ulcer disease, specific diseases, we're going to look at the concepts of these, sort of oxygenation, gas exchange, elimination. So looking at these different topics. Become increasingly skilled in critical thinking. You're going to get tired of critical thinking, critical judgment. We're going to say that over and over and over again. And you do it every day. You just don't realize that you're critically thinking. Transfer knowledge to a variety of clinical situations. And that's what we do in the lab. That's what you're going to be doing in clinical. And that's what you're going to do for the rest of your nursing career. Integrate new information with existing knowledge through the use of concepts that are applied to clinical situations to promote deep understanding across time and situation. So this semester, we're going to introduce the concepts. And then for the next 3 semesters, you're going to be building on those concepts and discussing them and learning more about those concepts and relating them to your clinical situation. So conceptual learning and synergistic thinking. So synergistic is connection, bringing things together. So what we know, the knowledge that you came to this program with, So you have your A&P 1 and 2, you have your microbiology, you have your biology, you have all those science classes, all that knowledge that you're bringing into this program. So you're going to bring all that, and then we're going to add some more of the concepts. So you're going to have independent learning. We're going to learn in the class together. We're going to use that information and bring it into the lab. And then you're going to have it in clinical when you're taking care of your patients. So what we understand as a result of our knowledge that we've acquired, and what we can do, demonstrate, perform. So that's by having exams, testing, quizzes, doing skill demonstration in the lab, practicing all the skills that we learned together, and then patient care at the bedside. So all that leads to student success. We want you all to succeed in this program, and that's our goal, and that's what we're going to do with you. So what is your role as a student in the concept-based curriculum? You have to be self-directed and motivated to learn. So we're not just going to give you the information, you're going to memorize it for the test and that's it, and move on. So some of the classes maybe in the past you did that. Everything we teach you is the foundation for what you're going to use over and over and over again in the future. So you have to take responsibility for that and be self-directed and motivated to learn the information. You're responsible for your own learning. We give you the pre-reading, we give you the assignments, it's up to you to follow through with that. In the class, we're not going to be standing in front of PowerPoints and just going over the information. We're going to use that information in different ways. We're going to do case studies, which is giving you a scenario, using a situation, using the information that you just read about the night before, and expanding on that and using that information to come together, to bring all that information together. You need to assess and monitor your own learning. How's it going? See how you do on the test. Do you think you're studying the right way? Maybe you need to change it up. Students evaluate their learning by reflecting. So we're going to ask you, how do you feel like in clinical, once you're done with your clinical day? You'll sit down and write a reflection. How did I feel about that day taking care of those patients? So when you reflect on how you've accomplished something, it helps you learn from that and grow from that experience, and that's what reflection is about. So Edie had alluded to coming back in August. We're having a boot camp. We're calling it a boot camp. It's mandatory for all the fall 2019 accepted students, and it's Wednesday night, August 21st and August 22nd, those 2 evenings. So the first night, we're just going to work and share ideas on test-taking strategies, time management, balancing life, time management, all these skills that we're trying to share with you to get ready for the semester. And then on the second night, we're going to have a family potluck dinner. We want you to bring your families. We want everybody to bring something to share. We'll have a picnic, hopefully outside or in the cafeteria. And families of current and graduated students will share their experiences about their school life balance during the evening. They'll have their spouses talk about what life was like for the last 2 years while their wife was in, or husband was in nursing school. Some of the children will talk about living on ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches and making an appointment to see mom. Mom had to write it in her agenda book. Okay, we get to spend the next, an hour on Saturday together, kind of thing. So just learning how to balance and their experiences. So we could stand up here and tell you, you can't work a full-time job and do your life and your school balance. The instructors, faculty can say it all the time, but when you hear it from your peers, hopefully that will help you understand the importance and the time commitment that nursing really takes. So the spring 2020 students, we haven't determined the dates for that yet, but we're going to start with the fall class. So we're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an exciting 2 evenings sharing information with you. So the schedule, the Blackboard course shell, everybody has experience with Blackboard, right? Yes? Okay. For this course, and for any course, it's available 1 week prior to the first day of class. And there will be updates there daily. We have a schedule in your handout, a proposed schedule in your packet, It's still in draft form, but it gives you an idea of what your semester is going to look like. The first day of classes for the fall is on Tuesday, August 27th. That's when the school starts. And the spring, it hasn't been determined yet. I looked at it again yesterday, and they haven't published the schedule for next spring yet. So I can't give you the date yet, but I will as soon as they post it. So the first 2 weeks of the schedule are unique, so you need to read the schedule carefully. So if you want to take that out and take a look at the schedule right now. So it says calendar fall 2019. So the spring calendar is going to look kind of like the same idea. We're still going to have lectures on Mondays, every Monday. That's our day to have classes is Mondays. Every semester has a different day of the week for their class, their major class, and ours is Mondays. So when we have class, it's going to start, any day we have class is going to start at 8:30 unless otherwise noted. So 8:30 to 3:30, plan to be here. Exams are going to be held on Fridays unless otherwise noted. So it's just going to be 8 to 9:15 Friday mornings. And then we do a review of the questions with you for 15 minutes, so you're out of here at 9:30, and that's it. So it's 8 to 9:30 on Fridays are exams. Lab days, plan on being here 8 to 4. And right now, our major lab days are Tuesdays and Thursdays. And here we have the boot camp on the 21st and 22nd. So August 27th is our first day of class. We're going to be down here all week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And these are our topics. These are our concepts that we talked about, that I mentioned. So professionalism, and in parentheses, the amount of time. So a half an hour, she's going to talk about professionalism, and it's going to be Lily. And then we're going to have stress and coping, and that's an hour lecture, and that's also by Lily. It's not a lecture, it's just an hour of active learning. I say lecture, but it's not going to be
I'll give
lecture.
you stress, and then you can cope.
Right. And then lab number 1 is going to be about 3 hours, and we're going to a whole new book series online and books that you're going to be using. So we're not don't get old books from anybody. It's a whole new program, a whole new curriculum, a whole new set of books. Okay? And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So they're coming, the company is called Pearson, that's doing the books and the online. They're coming around 8:30 that morning to give you an orientation to the products, the books, the online, how to go online and do all that. And then I'm going to, some course orientation, medication administration, dosage calculations, some medical medication calculations is integral to nursing. You have to be able to calculate how much medication you're given. So in your packet, and I'll go over it in a few minutes, about medication administration. So we'll also go over that. And then we'll have a lab orientation. So that's your first day. The number at the bottom of the square is about the hours that you'll be here for each of those days. So on Tuesday, we're also down here in the MPR, multi-purpose room. So we're going to have lectures on safety. And indented under that is your exemplar. So what is an exemplar? Exemplar is a situation, an example of the concept. So Lily's going to talk about safety, and her example is the National Patient Safety Goals. So that's what it means, why it's indented. And then Karen's going to talk about immunity and infection, and then there's some examples under there, which I didn't post, but you'll see. So on Thursday, NPR again, I'm going to talk about health promotion, and my example for that would be what are examples of primary prevention, and we'll be going over what that means. And then you have the concept of clinical judgment with Karen, and then I finish up the day with nutrition. And so our exemplar for nutrition is doing a nutritional assessment. So does that make sense? Everybody understand the calendar? So every week, we have the weeks are on the left-hand side. So we don't have class on Labor Day. We gave you that day off. Isn't that nice? And then right on Tuesday, we're starting with our first lab. So lab, it's labeled lab number 2, so that lab will be on Tuesday and Thursday that week. And we'll also get your Three Rivers IDs taken that day. So for lab, you need to wear your uniforms. So that's the first day you'll need to wear your uniform to school. Or lab will be on September 3rd. And then you have your first exam on Friday, the 6th. So there's 6 exams and 1 final. So we split it up. So you'll have more frequent exams. So in parentheses under the exams, it says 12.5H. So that's 12.5 hours of class time is going to be included in the exam. And we'll talk about this more on the first day of class, but that's what that means. So as you go through the schedule, you'll see we have labs on week 3, we have labs on week 4, and week 5 we start clinical. So that's how our tentative schedule is planned. So every Monday is class time, up to 6 hours of class time every Monday. So you can digest that. So email me questions if you have questions about it. Does anybody have a pressing question now about the schedule? Yes?
Okay, if this is a dumb question, I apologize.
Yep.
Wednesdays, do we come in at 8 or 8?
For when?
The 28th, is that also right?
The class, so since their class time on those 2 Wednesdays, you come in at 8:30.
Okay.
Yep. Good question. So on the 28th, it's 8:30, and on September 4th, it's 8:30. Okay? But if it's a lab day, you're coming in at 8 o'clock. Yes?
So those 2 Wednesdays, the 28th and the 4th, are the only Wednesdays we'll be
You'll be what?
besides those 2 Wednesdays, we'll be having no classes or clinicals on those.
You might have clinical on those days.
Okay,
You just don't have any more classes on Wednesday.
okay,
It's just those first 2 weeks we got to jump start in with some content.
okay.
Yes?
Will our clinical day be the same day every week?
Yes. So when we get to, at the beginning of school, we'll choose I'll send out a list of where your clinicals can possibly be. You put down your top 3 choices, and then we try to get at least one of your top 3 choices for you. Yes? The books will be mid-June, end of June. Because they're new, they're still working on getting them. Yes. Oh, definitely. We want you to read everything before you come back. All right. I know, not everything. So clinical. Lab days are part of clinical, so they count as clinical time. So you don't want to miss any lab time. You don't want to miss any clinical time. So you have to do your best not to miss. You miss 2 days of clinical, you're out of the program. Okay? So just like a nurse can't call up or not just show up at work. Who's going to take care of our patients that day? Clinical days, you have to be there on clinical days and lab days. You wear your uniform when you come to lab. It's just like a clinical day. So like I said, clinical days are to be determined. It's going to be 1 day a week, which is different than what you've heard from previous classes. 10 to 12 hours, that 1 day a week. You'll be going to your clinical location. And clinical groups won't be assigned until week 3 of the semester. And then we start clinical the 5th week of the semester. Hopefully sooner, but we'll see. Yes?
Will we know at least a week in advance before, like, the day that we'll have clinicals, just for people?
So you'll learn by week 3.
Okay.
Yep, at the latest, and you start clinicals in week 5. So you'll know at least minimum 2 weeks before where you'll be going to clinical. But it's 1 day a week instead of 2 days a week. So you'll be there all day. Yes, and they're all going to be in hospitals. Yes.
On the exam days, why does it say like 9.5 hours, 12.5 hours?
That's the amount of content hours that the exam is for.
Oh,
So how many hours of class time? So 9 hours of class time are going to be on that exam. And we'll give you an exam blueprint on the first day of class, and that will tell you all the topics that are on each exam when the time comes. So you won't have to worry about that. Yes?
So after we start the clinicals, we don't
week of Thanksgiving, we have class on Monday and Tuesday. The week of Thanksgiving. So that's week number 14. Thanksgiving is late this year. It's not till November 28th. And then we only have class for 2 weeks after that. We have exams and final exam right after Thanksgiving. So it's quick. So the nursing student handbook will be on Blackboard when it becomes live the week before. So that's your Bible, that's the rules that we go by in this nursing program, all levels of the nursing program. Like I said, you won't be able to read it until the week before. So you're responsible to know the content, and we'll provide the link to the handbook when it becomes available. But I think they're updating it over the summer, so it won't be available to the week before. But we'll talk about that again on the first day of school. The nursing books, the bookstore will have the Pearson book bundle available late June. So I'll send out an email, or we will have a Blackboard site when they become available. Only the fall, well, you can only pick up the books once you're registered. So only the fall semester students can pick up the books now, not the spring semester students. So once you're registered, and the books are available, you'll go to the bookstore, they'll pull your name up to check that, verify that you're registered, and you'll get your book bundle. So you're going to get 5 books in that bundle. So the nursing concept, phased approach to learning, volume 1 and 2 are this big, and it's the books that you use all 4 semesters. Then we have a pharmacology book, a nursing drug guide, and a clinical nursing skills book. That's all in the bundle. So it all is included in the tuition somehow. The only book you have to pay for is going to be the dosage calculation book, which will also be used all 4 semesters. And that book won't be available until these books are available. Okay? That makes sense? And you will be getting online access for these books, along with picking up the hardcover books. You'll also have to buy a nursing tote, which is what we use in the nursing labs over all 4 semesters. So it's a bag that has dressings in it, Foley catheter kit, suction catheter kit, IV solutions, syringes, different types of needles, all this stuff that you're going to be using over the next 2 years. Those won't be available also until probably midsummer, but there's no reason to pick those up ahead of time. And I will post when those are available, because we're updating the inventory. The other thing you all need is a stethoscope. You have to have one with a bell and a diaphragm so that you can listen on either side. So like the picture shows, okay? So you don't want to buy a $20 stethoscope. That won't be very beneficial. The bookstore has them, right? The bookstore has stethoscopes. Alexander's has stethoscopes. Or, Amazon has stethoscopes. You just don't want a cheap one, because you want to be able to hear heartbeats and breath sounds with them. But that is required and needed by the 3rd lab. You definitely have to have those. Uniforms. You have a paper in your folder about uniforms, the dress code, and then on the back this is Alexander uniforms. So they are the ones that carry our styles, what we require, and those are what's over here on the table. So the blue pants and the white shirt. You can also get the white jacket. What side does your patch have to be on, ladies? Left? That's good. They just wear them all the time, but they don't know. It's your left shoulder. So you get a 15% discount on your uniforms. Royal blue pants, white tops, white lab coat is optional. The patches take 2 weeks to have Alexander sew them on, so don't wait till the end of August to pick it up or to order them. Water-resistant medical professional shoes, all white. Sneakers are okay. You don't have to go buy those $150 clogs. and then your feet hurt after the first hour that you wear them. So find a pair of shoes that you can stand up for 10 hours. That's what you need, but it has to be all white. And then you have to wear white socks. So not the multicolor knee-high socks. You have to wear all white. We are professionals. And we'll get more right before the first day of school about the earrings and all that good stuff. You do have it explained on the handout. So patches are $3.75 each. Each top and lab coat requires one. Like I said, it takes up to 2 weeks to have that because they got to send it out. You can't walk into Alexander's and bring a uniform from Amazon or somewhere else and ask them to sew it on. They won't do that. You have to buy the uniform there in order for them to sew on the patches. You could get your own uniform, like we gave out a couple patches today. You can buy the patches and sew them on yourself. Please don't just tape them on. Right. Yep. Hair color has to be natural. Professionals, you don't really want any hot pink, hot blue while you're doing clinical. It's not appropriate. And it has to be able to be pulled back. You don't want to be leaning over a patient with your hair in their face. Yes?
If you have a nose piercing, is a pierced stud acceptable for that? You can have whatever you want in a pierced stud instead.
So you have a nose piercing, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like a clear plastic stud just so that the nose.
The clear plastic? Yes, clear plastic.
So you don't have to get your uniform, that all your families or?
Well, it's recommended because they know the styles and the colors that you need. But if you get them from somebody else or whatever, they're not going to sew the patches on for you. Yes?
We have to bring it every lab or?
Every lab. Yep, for 4 semesters you'll need the tote bag. And they'll tell you what we're using. You'll know ahead of time what you're using in lab that day. So you don't want your kids playing in those bags. Yes?
So when you
Or dogs.
order uniforms, when you order the patches, like they'll just sew them on when you order them.
Yes, you can. Yep. Yep, you just place an order to have them sew them on for you. Yes?
Do facial dermals need to be removed then? If, like, visible piercings are not acceptable?
I know, what would have to be removed?
A dermal, like,
Facial piercings.
They all need to come out. And it's not, besides being our rules for us, it's the facilities that we go in, the hospitals that we go in require no piercing.
okay.
No colored nail polish, so don't get the, whatever you guys do, acrylic nails right before school starts, because if we ever cultured whatever was under those nails, you would never do it again. So you really shouldn't, you can't keep those germs away, so they have to be no nail colors, no really long nails.
Just going back to the pants too, again, Alexander's knows the acceptable pants that we have because there are some pants that aren't acceptable. So just, you know, if you're going somewhere else and you have all these pants that might not be the right style, then we might call you on that.
Right. Any other questions on uniforms? So medical math, your book is going to be Giangrasso dosage calculations, but I'll send that out once we get them coming into the bookstore. Practice medical math, we assign chapters, but we don't have the books yet, so I can't assign the chapters, but I included some medical forms, the calculation cheat sheet that you have to learn all the dosage calculations. I included a practice test and doing some calculations. So like, we'll give you the label from this children's Motrin. The doctor writes an order of ibuprofen, 300 milligrams, and we're going to ask you how many mLs would you administer from this. So looking at this label. And then how many teaspoons would you give? If you only had teaspoons at home, how many teaspoons would you give? Those are the types of medical math questions that we're going to be asking this semester. Yes?
point will we get like an empty key for this?
Yeah, I'll give it to you when you come to school, because we're gonna do dosage calculation on the first day. Yep, so you're gonna, if you're gonna, do that practice test, and then we can go over it on the first day of the school class.
What was the question?
She wanted to know the answers for the practice test.
I think it's not really bad.
She wanted to know the answers ahead of time. Yeah. The nursing lab, and Karen's gonna talk about the nursing lab. Nursing lab can become your second home. That's your resource. These guys live, this one especially.
Yes.
I tell her she needs to put her pillow in there, right? Because she's here every day in the nursing lab, studying, reviewing. We have the resource nurses that are in there that help you if you have issues with going over the medical math or a skill that we're doing. They're always there for you to be using. So we want to see all your faces in that nursing lab and utilizing it. What else do you guys do? You do study groups in there?
Study groups in there, it's a really great place to meet students from other semesters as well, because we're all in there all the time, and, you definitely get some good tips.
And Tiffany's always asking the upper semesters, hits, questions.
It's great because you can bounce ideas off. You'll see your patients during the week for clinicals, and you can go back to the lab and you can talk to your peers in other semesters about what you saw, and they can explain it further about how you're going to see what else goes on throughout the semesters as well. So the lab is really great. You can get to play with some of the wonderful patients that lay in the bed for you guys and talk to them. Even if the encouragement too.
Speak up, can't hear you.
Even if you like need encouragement from like any of the lab people in there, they help you. So just go in and they'll help you. It's like there's no judgment, so it helps. Yeah, definitely. Y'all are like to talk, explain stuff. Not me, not scary.
If you are medically, if you're math challenged though, I give you the piece of paper in there called Medical Math Ed2Go information. And there's a course that you can sign up online, or you can do it self-paced, or you can do it with a online teacher. So there's a resource paper in there that tells you the 3 dates that they're doing the classes. So if you really have a hard time with math, I recommend you do that. Every semester you're going to have a medical math exam. It's 20 questions every semester. For ours, it's going to be during the 4th week of the semester, and then every semester after that. And you have to get at least a 90 on that exam in order to go on in that program that semester. It's a required test. So it's really important because you're giving meds all the time in our profession, and you have to be able to use your math skills.
Get free attempts.
Free attempts. And in between, you're going to go see the doctor. Every test you have medical math questions. So pre-class reading assignments. So there's a reading list that we gave you. It's quite big. Does anybody else need one? Yeah, anybody get one? So these are outline and reading assignments for all the concepts for exam number 1 and 2. Anybody else need one? It wasn't in the folder, it was a separate map. Who else needs one? So unless otherwise noted, the readings are from Nursing, a Concept-Based Approach to Learning. So that's your big book that you're going to have for classes. Who else needed one? Anybody else? So the purpose of these outlines is to help you identify what to focus on in the reading. These books are usually all 4 semesters. So you'll be going back to these chapters every semester, reviewing the information. Many of the concepts have exemplars, which provide an example on how you might see this concept present in a patient. So let's just take a look at the first page, the first one. So this is the class content outline for the concept of professionalism. And up on the top, it tells you the pages to review within that chapter for that concept. And and then so just read through that. Does that make sense? So then you got the second page, the concept is stress and coping. Like Lily was said, I'll cause you stress and she'll teach you how to cope. So through her, she gave different pages right through the outline. So you just take a look at the different pages and try to familiarize. You don't have to memorize everything about the concept, but you need to become kind of comfortable with that. The next one is safety. So she picked some pages for that, for you to review in that module about safety.
So can I answer Jeff a second?
Sure.
So there are some things in there that it'll say, you know, you're gonna cover this in another course. You're gonna cover that in that other course, not in our course, right? But we're showing you how everything links together. The other thing is, see where it says related curricular concepts, you might not be doing readings about that, but it's just there, this is the outline. So again, just read it, read what we said, look at the pages, etc. Okay? And then the other thing, Cheryl, do you want to mention about the book? Since the spring class can't buy the
Right, you can't buy the package till you register. So, what about,
So reading, so they shouldn't go out and buy books through Amazon.
you can, do not do that because then you will not have online access. You have to buy the bundle. It's highly recommended you buy the bundle through the store because if you don't buy the bundle, you won't have access to the online through Pearson. With the contract that we have with Pearson, you can only have online access if you buy the book, if you pick up your books in the bookstore. Yes? Go ahead. No, it's part of your tuition. There's no money. There's no charge for picking up your book bundle. It's included in your tuition. Okay? The online access is all included. It's all those 5 books are part of your fees, whatever tuition for attending this nursing program. And they're used all 4 years. The only book you have out of pocket is the medical math, the math book. Yes?
So the curriculum listing, this book is actually one that comes in that packet?
Yes, they all are in the package.
So we won't even be able to do this until we get that?
Right, till the middle of June.
Okay.
But you need a break and, just enjoy life, have that party, right? And then you're going to buckle down when you get that book, and that's it. 10 hours a week of starting to get your mind wrapped around school and focusing. You always can come into the lab. The lab is open all summer, Monday through Friday.
Yes, the other thing, for those people who don't have the exact book, if you look through the outlines, there are links or there's some articles. Cheryl has a culture module course, so there are some things you could do if you're in that spring group and you don't wait for something.
And if you're really anxious, the library will have a whole set of all the books in the library, which you can use in the library. So every course, supposedly in this school, has a book available for use in the library. So you can go into the library and read a section that you wanted to read or whatever, catch up on, in the library. The books cannot leave the library. So they're on reserve behind the desk. So you can just ask to sign out one of those books to use in the library. But all the books will be available in the library. And the lab will have a copy too. But not yet. Not until we all get them in June. Yes?
Is this list accessible on Blackboard?
It will be. Yes. Yes?
You said the book, the medical math is the only one that you pay out of pocket for?
That's the only one you pay out of pocket for.
And it has to go through the school bookstore?
Nope, you don't have to.
Okay.
Nope. Any other questions? Yes?
So when I talked last week, you read
Okay.
that. I was accepted for the spring, and I put in to get the spot which is for the fall.
Correct.
Around when will we know?
The people that were already able to move over were already notified.
And so is there no chance of moving over at this point?
As of right now, no. Right. As of right now, the fall class is set. Any other questions? Okay, moving on. So there's an information sheet in student clinical readiness policy in your folder, which has your email, home address, and demographic questions. I'd like them handed in before you leave tonight, both of those forms. Yep. So on the student clinical readiness policy, I just want to read it to you. As per the Castle Branch e-portal, which we'll talk about soon, students who are non-compliant with health requirements, background checks, drug screening, and CPR at any time in this program in these 2 years, they will be required to leave the program immediately. And don't think that hasn't happened, unfortunately. It has happened. So we have to stick to this. This clinical readiness means that you're able to go into all the facilities that we use, all the stuff that you have to enter onto Castle Branch. If you're not up to date, you're non-compliant, and then you're going into these hospitals, and you just can't do it. So at any time that you're non-compliant and you let it lapse, you can be dismissed that day from the program. Okay, so this is what you're signing, understanding this, the importance of having your Castle Branch. It's just like getting your license renewed, or your RN license renewed once you become an RN. It's your responsibility to keep it updated. We're not going to come up and tell you, your PPD is due next week. It's not our responsibility. It's your responsibility. So the student may request readmission if eligible in accordance with the Connecticut CCNP student readmission standards. So you need to understand that, how important Castle Branch is to our program. Yes?
So I was supposed to start spring, but I was going to this football.
Yep. So that's little questions like that are individual questions, you're going to direct to the lab. Okay? So we'll just, if you have a particular issue, then contact Karen. You have her contact information, and she'll help you figure that out. So that, and then the other form, if you fill in that form and hand those forms in tonight. And also, if you have your health and safety course test completed, that was sent in your letter, acceptance letter, you can hand that in also at the same time tonight as you leave. If you need another one, I have extra copies. Just let me know and I can give you a copy of that health and safety test. So here it is, the Connecticut Health and Safety Course test. Please hand it completed, if not hand it the first day of class. Yes?
If we have our certain future academic history and personal programs,
Those are supposed to go to registration. Those go to registration. You don't see those. Right. So why do you have to take this health and safety course? Because it's required by the Connecticut Hospital Association in order for us to go in and do clinical and practice in these facilities. Even the employees, everybody has to read the modules and take this post-test. And you have to pass this post-test with an ID, okay? So if you haven't looked at the modules yet, then don't take the test, please. But if you need a new copy, I have a whole pile of them over here, if you need another set, and it has the link. But when you got it in your acceptance letter, the directions were there on how to access the modules, and then I gave you a copy of the post-test. Okay, Karen, your turn.
Let's open a Castle Branch account. If you're filling out your info sheet, can you please stop and pay attention because this is really, really important. So for Castle Branch, we sent out the info on Castle Branch a little bit before Castle Branch caught up with us. So if you have opened if you've opened your account, you've probably noticed that there was a spot for the name of your incoming class, Fall 2019. If you registered and you didn't see Fall 2019, you probably chose Fall 2018. If you did that, I need you to call Castle Branch and have them switch you over to Fall 2019.
I think there were 5 of you, at least, that I noticed that are in the wrong grouping. So, does anybody know offhand if that applies to them?
No.
Just give them a phone call and they'll switch you over. And then, the other thing, so TG 65, it should say fall 2019 beside that. Classification, I don't know if the classification was available to you when you registered, because again, they hadn't updated it when we sent the letter out to you guys. Your classification is your month and year of expected graduation. So if you're starting in the fall, you would be May of 2021, right?
21.
So May of 2021 if you're starting in the fall, if you're starting in January, you would be December of 2021. So please make sure that that was selected too when you registered, because it helps me track where everybody belongs.
So if it's not done, then what do we need to do?
Call me or email me. Send me an email. What else do we need to know?
Just the introduction.
Just intro.
So you do have the handout, one-page handout of Castle Ray in your folder. So take that out, take a look at it.
We haven't really stacked them, so they all we can talk about. So Castle Branch is just the name. Yeah.
If we're for the spring semester, do you still want us to in the fall 2019?
It should say spring 2019 or
Okay.
2020.
Okay.
I believe I checked that. I think it should be available to you. So Castle Branch does 2 things for us. One, it monitors all of your health information throughout your entire time here. And 2, the other section that you'll have to do closer to the time that your semester is starting is a background check and a drug screen. So we'll release that to you when it gets closer to the date. We'll send out an email, I believe.
I will send everybody an email saying that it's going live, you can sign up for it in 2 days or 3 days.
Right, so it'll probably be August. It's usually a couple weeks before the semester starts to do the background check and drug screen. We'll send you another order code that you'll have to type in. There's a payment for that one, and I believe it was $97 this past semester. And you only have a very short window of time from the time you register for it to the time that you can go and actually submit your urine sample. So make sure when you're signing up and registering for that drug screen that you are ready to go to the lab within a couple of days. Like, don't go to Georgia, sign up for it, and then, spend a week of vacation and not have a lab available to you. I don't know where that Georgia came from. Had that issue last semester. So think about that before you register for the drug screen. What else do you need to know about that? That's pretty much it. CPR. When you take CPR, it has to be a course for healthcare providers. And it has to have a component where you actually do CPR on a mannequin. So it can't be 100% online. It can be a hybrid where you do the background information online and then you go to a facility that does the testing, but you have to actually do CPR in order to get this license. What are they called? American Ambulance in Norwich does CPR. You can give them a call. They're constantly running courses. You just have to make sure it's a BLS. I think it's called BLS for healthcare providers. They've changed the terminology, and I can't remember. But
BLS provider.
Yeah, BLS provider, I believe that's what it's called. Or American Heart. There's different places you can do it, but just make sure it's one for a healthcare practitioner. That's really important, or Castle Branch will refuse it, and you won't be compliant for clinical. Does anybody have questions about that?
The one that you get through the school, is that one?
I don't even know. Do we do it through the school?
Ed does something, I don't
Okay.
know.
It could be just the basic,
HPE does a whole semester-long course under HPE.
as long as you do adult, infant, and child, and
It's
infant
not-
bag, and defibrillator, and it's hands-on, and you get the BLS provider card, at the end, it's okay. But there's pediatric first aid out, CPR out there, there's all different, there's heart saver first CPR, those do not count.
Yeah, usually the first aid courses, some of them are combined with a first aid course, and a lot of those are for just
For the public.
general population. They're not appropriate. So just be really clear on what it is. Any other questions on CPR? Yes.
Me? Oh, for CPR, that's due, like, it has to be done completed by July.
July 1st, if you're starting in January, or in the fall. And CPR, keep in mind, CPR usually expires in 2 years, so that's one of the ones that throughout the program, you're probably gonna, you'll probably have to renew it at some point. So, but Castle Branch will let you know when it's due. If you've done CPR at work, like if you work at Backus Hospital, it's a BLS provider, it's a provider course, so you can get your proof from work that you have it, that's acceptable to submit to Castle Branch.
Tell them how to submit.
We'll get there. All right. Who's had fun with Castle Branch? Nobody raised their hand. Yeah?
Question, for the drug screen and the titer, can we just go to any local lab?
Yeah, you can put a request for the drug screen,
Okay.
for the titers. So Castle Branch, has anyone been struggling with Castle Branch? No? Not yet? Not yet? Has anyone tried to submit anything to Castle Branch? A few, okay. All right, so when you go, who has not tried to submit to Castle Branch? Okay, quite a few, which is fine, because we got time. So when you go online and this is straightforward. I'm not going to read to you how to go through and order your, like, open your account and everything. It's pretty straightforward. It's the next screen. This one. I know it's probably even
You
too
have
small.
it in your packet.
Find this in your packet, because this is the requirements that you need to do in order to comply with the protocol. So I'm just going to go through these step by step in case anyone has questions, because there's almost always a question on this stuff. Measles, mumps, and rubella. You have two options for MMR. You can either submit a titer saying that you have immunity to MMR, or you can submit, and you would need 3 titers. You would need proof of immunity to measles, mumps, and rubella. Or you can submit proof of 2 vaccinations when you were like 1 year old. If you have that evidence that you've been immunized with 2 vaccines to MMR, that's all you need. If you submit a negative titer, it's not evidence that you've ever been immunized, and in that case, we would ask you to go and get your immunization. So you would need two vaccines. If you submit a positive titer, you're fine. Positive means you're immune to it. And if you submit 2 vaccines, evidence of 2 vaccines, you don't have to check your titer. As a healthcare provider myself, I would recommend that you do check your titer, because if it's low, you might want to go get a booster, especially with all the measles epidemics that are out there. Yes.
Saying that getting a booster, I'm running into a problem with Castle Branch. They're rejecting my MMR because I don't have the proof of my 2 immunizations from when I was younger, but I work in a hospital and had my titer done in 2003.
So it's too old, probably.
Well, one of them was negative, so I ended up having a booster,
Yep.
and I submitted proof that I had the titer done with 2 of them that are positive, 1 was negative.
Yep.
And proof that I had 1 booster, which is what the guidelines say, and
Okay.
they're rejecting it, saying it's not enough.
Send me an email,
Okay,
and I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
And see what's missing.
thank you.
Oh, for those of you that don't know, right now I'm currently working in the lab. I don't teach in the first semester until August. So if you have any lab questions or Castle Branch questions, that's the lab person's role. So that's why I'm talking to you about Castle Branch. Yeah.
If we receive a booster, we still need to have covered after.
That's what I'm gonna check that, because that's a question that I haven't gotten into, because I don't know the answer. So I'll look into that, and email me too. So if anyone has a specific question that I don't know the answer to, send me an email and I'll look into it. Varicella, chickenpox, same thing. Show a positive titer, a vaccine series, or proof that you've had chickenpox in your life, which would be a doctor's note, not your mom saying you had chickenpox, but it would be a note from the doctor saying that you have a documented case of chickenpox. Tetanus is good for 10 years. So keep in mind, if you upload a TDAP, that at some point in the nursing program it might expire. So if you know you're coming due in a year, just go get a tetanus shot and upload it. It'll be good. Hep B is by far and large the one that causes the most confusion on Castle Branch. Hepatitis B requires you to get 3 vaccines. If you have never been vaccinated for Hep B, please do not get a titer draw, because unless you have Hep B, you're going to be negative. And it throws things completely out of whack with Castle Branch. So if you've never been vaccinated, don't get a titer and submit a negative titer because it goes crazy. So if you're positive, if you've had the vaccines and you have a positive titer, just submit us a positive titer and you're good. If you've never had the Hep B vaccine before, which is very common in people, unless you've worked in healthcare, you quite often haven't had the vaccines before. It's a 3-part series, and they have to be done at very specific times. So your first titer is drawn, or your first vaccine is given. A month later, is it a month later? Mm-hmm. A month later, you get another one, and then 5 months after that, I believe, you get a third. Then, 2 months after that third shot, you get your first titer drop. Is everyone following me so far? If that first titer that you get after 3 shots is positive, that means you're immune, you're good to go. Upload that to Castle Branch, everyone's happy. A lot of times that titer will come back negative, and our requirements state that you have to go through the entire 3-part series all over again. So the Hep B can take you over a year to complete the requirements. It is okay if you're going through that whole Hep B requirement, you're still compliant to come to clinical. You don't have to have it completed. Castle Branch will let you know. They'll send you an email every time you have a vaccine that's due. So if you're in the middle of that 7-month series, they'll let you know, hey, in 2 weeks you're due for another shot. Go get that shot, upload it to the spot when it's due, and you're fine. You're meeting compliance. Please don't upload, if something on Castle Branch says, those of you who logged in, you've probably seen things that will say rejected, it will say overdue, or it might say, there's one more, I can't remember the term they use. Incomplete. Probably everything says incomplete when you start. If you're doing your Hep B and it says incomplete, please don't panic and upload some random old Hep B shot to the spot. Incomplete is okay, it just means it's not due yet. So a lot of people freak out and then they load something up there and then it causes like everything to be rejected and it throws everything off track. So don't panic if it says incomplete, it just means it's not due yet.
Check on the computer and
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. There's an app for Castle Branch that people have been using on their phones and tablets. It's not reliable. There's a lot of misunderstandings because it doesn't give you a complete message. If you log into Castle Branch on the computer, on the webpage, it tells you exactly why things are rejected. You will never get a message, or you'll never get a rejection without an explanation. And I have students call me and come into my office in a panic all the time saying, oh my gosh, I got rejected, I don't know why. And if we log in, it's like blah, 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 blah. It's like very detailed description. So everything is there, but I don't encourage you to use the app. I know we're like a smartphone freaky society, but it's not a great one to use. Does anyone have Hep B questions? Because it really is the one that just causes the most confusion. Not yet? That's good. Usually there's plenty. This is another one that causes confusion. The PPD, or your tuberculosis test. So when you're first coming into the program, you need to get either a lab work drawn, which is an order for a quantiferon gold that your doctor can order. You can go to Quest, have it drawn, and then if that comes back negative, means you don't have tuberculosis, you can upload the lab form to Castle Branch with the titer on it. If you don't, sometimes insurance doesn't cover the quantiferon gold and it can be pricey. If you want to go and get a skin test done, insurance usually will cover that. But you have to, when you get a PPD done, they implant, and between 48 and 72 hours later, you have to go back and have it read. We require you to do that twice. So it's called a 2-step TB test, which actually means you're going to the doctor 4 times. And it has to be within 2 to 3 weeks of each other. So you're going to get planted, get it read 48 hours later. 2 weeks later, you're going to go back and do that whole thing all over again. You have to have a 2-step PPD because some of our clinical sites require it. So if insurance covers it, get a quantiferon gold. It's 1 trip and you're done. Yeah.
I've had PPDs for the past year or so in work, so I still need.
You still need a 2-step. Okay. So again, you can have a PPD done anywhere. It doesn't have to be at your doctor. You can have it done at work. If your work will do a 2-step for you, great. You can use that. That's not a problem. Anybody have a question about the PPD? Yes,
Let's say you've had the BCG.
good question. If you've had a BCG vaccine, your skin test will probably be positive. So if you've had a BCG vaccine, I believe they can still do a quantiferon board for you, but you can also submit a chest x-ray, and I believe it's in here.
Yes.
Yes, so it's very specific in here. So if you've ever been vaccinated for tuberculosis or you've had a positive skin test, you can get a chest x-ray done. Your doctor can read the chest x-ray, say you're negative, submit the doctor's report, and then there's another form that we do. So the chest x-rays may be the best way to go.
Yeah, we're supposed to do the chest x-ray 2 years in a row.
It has to be within the last year. I know. So many little nooks and crannies. PPD also, every year you have to do it. It expires in 12 months, whether it's a PPD or it's a quantiferon gold. So that is one that causes students to get ejected from the program because it's one that they forget about, or they say, oh, it takes 72 hours, right, to have it implanted in red, and they say, oh, well, I know it's due on this day, I'll go get it implanted today, it's due today. Well, you're not done yet because you haven't had it read. Don't be that person. It's not worth getting kicked out of nursing school because you sat on your PPD and forgot to do it, or just put it up. What else? Flu shots. We require a flu shot for everyone. I don't even know if we set the date, but it's going to be in October. Don't go and get your flu shot too early because they're not really effective if you get them done too early. So wait until we tell you the deadline for them. We had it in October 1st, but I think we were going to make it later. Yeah, I think we're thinking about maybe October 15th. So we'll let you know when the flu shot is due. Last year we had a flu shot clinic here in the building for nursing students. I don't know if we're going to do that again because it was a bit of a hassle to operate. You can go to any pharmacy, any doctor's office, any walk-in clinic, wherever they do flu shots, you can get your flu shot. Please pay attention to this, it's very important. You need 3 pieces of information when you get flu shot. You need the manufacturer who made the flu shot. It is not called Fluvarix or flu anything in the name. It's the company name that made the flu shot. You also need the lot number, and you also need the expiry date of your flu shot. If you don't have all 3 of those things, you'll be rejected in counseling.
So if you go to CVS and have it done, they're not gonna write it on there. You have to request that. And then we're gonna send you back 3 times just to get the manufacturer name, the lot number, and the expiration date.
I would guess that probably 50% of students last semester have their flu shots rejected in Castle Branch because some piece of information is missing. They uploaded the name of the vaccine, but not the name of the company that made it. So make sure you ask for that. And also, if you go to CVS and get your flu shot done, they give you like the prescription slip. It looks like the prescription slip that you use when you pick up medications. That is not proof that you were immunized. That is just proof that you requested the flu shot. You need a piece of paper that they signed saying they gave it to you. So that's 4 things that you need for a flu shot. What else? And then CPR we already talked about. I know Castle Branch can be frustrating to work with. I've worked with it myself as a student, and it can be very frustrating. I tried to spell it out clearly here, if you're having issues. They can help you if you give them a call, but if you have something that you really don't know, just call me. I'm here all summer long. There's going to be a couple weeks that I'm not here, but for the most part, I'm going to be here all summer long, probably from like 8 till 3, around those hours. So give me a call, send email's better, because I can always answer email. Don't try and troubleshoot on your own, but don't freak out over it. We can figure it out together. And sometimes they reject stuff that I can look at and go, no, that's fine, and I can override it. So just let me know. Yes. I'm Kate Amor at trcc.com.edu. It's in there, maybe in the first. Yeah, I saw it. My phone is gonna go when you walk.
So remember, everything's on one piece of paper. You have to upload it to each individual section.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, so there's a health form you have to have your doctor fill out with all of this information on it. And then you have to have forms for different vaccines too. So under your varicella spot for Castle Branch, if you have a titer, you have to submit your lab work. You proof from the lab. So in that case, you would put the lab information. Lab, if you have titers drawn, you don't need a doctor's signature on them, you just need to submit the lab work. There's a different spot to upload each thing. So if you put your health form, that whole form in one spot and go, yay, I'm done, Castle Branch, no, you're not even close. You have to put something in every single spot that opens up every single one of these requirements. It's time consuming, but that's the only way Castle Branch can make it work. Does that make sense? You'll feel like you're uploading like everything 5 times, but it's the only way we can make it work. Yeah?
So you're saying everything like on the slopes?
Yes. Yes.
Some people do it on their phones.
You have
Take a picture of
your copy machine, use that, because I've gotten rejected for them not being able to read the paper, and I look at it and I'm like.
And you did it by phone?
I've had people take pictures on their phones like this. And then it's like this, and you can't read it. If you can't read it, it gets rejected. Yes.
I had it typed done a couple years ago, I have to bring one.
Yeah. We like everything to be within a year. Yeah. Any other, yes?
The health assessment,
Yep.
that you have to, that's when I go and get a physical done, right?
Yep.
And then, so it looks like the doctor's just confirming that you had all your titers and your vaccinations.
Correct.
I didn't get my vaccinations through my provider though.
So whichever doctor you got your vaccines at, you or your mom should have those records, or that doctor's office may still have that record. If you don't have proof, you have to get proof, which sometimes means being re-immunized. If you have titers.
I mean, because I think I got my titers through work. So
You might
they're
have
the
to get
ones that
them
gave me
right
my
yet.
lab work. If I bring that to my provider, will he, and can he just fill it out based on that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But you have to load the lab sheet.
Correct. You still
Yeah.
have to upload the lab sheets.
A million times.
Yes. Yes.
Are these immunizations due at a specific date or all kind of?
Sorry, hang on, I can't hear you. My coworkers. Yes.
Are all of these immunizations due at specific dates individually or all together?
Everything is due July 1st.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
And December 1st for spring.
Thank you. December 1st for spring. Don't be late. Yes.
They'll tell you when you get the background check.
They'll tell you what to.
I will send an email to get it with the specific
Yeah.
instruction.
Yeah, the
I'm
background.
not gonna tell you now because, you know, just because.
The drug screen is a really sensitive test. We want to make sure that, you know, it's really you, that there's too much security involved, so we just want to make sure that everything's kosher. Hi.
So now, just like clarify, because this.
It's overwhelming, I
It's a
know.
lot, yeah. So every vaccine essentially, you have to prove, like, submit proof that you were vaccinated and also the titer, or is it like?
It depends, so whatever is required there, so if you, for MMR, if you're positive, your titer's positive, that's all you need. If you have a negative titer, that means you're not immune, and then that's a problem. If you have positive titers, then you're good to go. Yes? Oh, that's a really good question, and probably in the back end here. She asked if you take something like a medication that might be on a restricted list. So we have some students that have scripts for medical marijuana, or ADHD medications, or opioids for pain control. Your Castle Branch, your drug screen will come back positive, no matter what. It's going to be a positive drug screen. Then they start a review through Castle Branch. There's a mediator at Castle Branch where you submit documentation saying, you know, I have a prescription for this medication, I'm allowed to take it. They will note it in your drug screen that comes back to us that you're positive, but with permission. There are some clinical sites that may not accept that. So I don't even know what to suggest in that case. As far as if that might apply to you, if you're worried about it, send us an email. Maybe Cheryl? Yeah, I don't know, individually, because there can't be some issues, even if you have permission, and it has to do with federal laws and federal funding at our clinical sites. Any other questions about Castle Branch? Yes. Be nice and loud for the folks in the back.
Clarifying a little bit, so after we submit everything in Castle Branch and like, we have to like
how many emails you get. And then when you graduate, you'll still be getting Castle Branch emails.
Just clarification, all the tests that we need for graduation has to be in by July first,
Yes, if you're starting in the fall.
in the fall, December first or.
Yes.
Yes. So that means you need to make your doctor's appointment, that's why we sent it out ahead of time.
Okay, so.
You need to get in.
Go do it, just get it done. Good stuff.
Have it done earlier than later, just in case they rejected it.
For drug screen,
Yeah.
like if you go do it, you have to ask for the result?
Oh, good question. The drug screen, you go, you pee in a cup, you give them the cup, and you're done. They will transfer
You're
the
gonna-
info
you're
back to
gonna-
Castle Branch.
Oh, you just
You'll get a
have to
piece of
tell
paper
them
they
where it's going?
take with them.
Oh, right, so Castle Branch, when you order it on Castle Branch, you order the drug screen, there will be a piece of paper that you need to
Oh, yeah.
download to your computer and print and take it to Quest or wherever you go to get it done.
And they take care of it.
Okay.
Castle Branch they do walk you through everything. There's good directions on there, but it can be confusing. If you have any questions, if there's something that's unique about your situation, just email me. It's better to ask than to flounder and take 3 weeks to figure it out. Yes?
I'm happy to email you what I should.
Yes, please use your school email.
School email, that's the only way we're corresponding, not with your home email. You can't keep up with home emails. And then once the semester's shot, we do all our communication on Blackboard. Yeah. Do you have a question?
Yeah, the flu shot, that's for both semesters, it's October 1st of that year.
Yeah, but I think it'll be probably later, a little later. But no, I mean, you should get it, so you'll be immune when the semester starts. But you need yours before December 1st, because that's when you have to have all your paperwork. So you don't have to have the deadline that they have to have.
Okay.
It has to be done before
All
December.
my health stuff is like all set, I just didn't get a flu shot.
Yep. So don't get it too early. Remember, it takes 2 weeks to kick in. It's only good for about 3 months. So you get your flu shot in August.
Bad idea.
You have no immunity in January. So it's not a good idea to get it early. It's not a thing that you should get early. You wait till the October, middle of October to get your flu shot.
Castle Branch question?
Well, if you have your email linked to the school,
Yeah.
you can send messages and it'll log what the school.
Right, if you have that link, the school emails will get sent to your home emails. But we need to have,
From your home.
we just are gonna correspond with your school email.
Yeah.
Yes,
So it's just clarification, for correspondence with you want our school email, but Castle Branch is okay to use our.
Castle Branch, you can do whatever you want.
Okay, thank you.
Make sure it's one you check.
Right.
yeah, I'm sure, don't go to an email that you never go on.
Because Castle Branch notifies you, I've had so many students come and they didn't tell me. I'm like, I can see when I log in as an administrator, I can see every single thing Castle Branch has sent you. So if you sign up with a weird email that you never check, that's not gonna work.
Okay, one or two more things. Here's our reminder dates. You have one more handout in your folder. Did you have a question?
Hang on one second.
What? For class? Yeah. It opened today. Yes.
One more thing, this is important.
Hang on.
Any of the oils, anything that's like anything hemp, marijuana derivatives, anything, oils, lotions, don't use them in like 2 weeks before your test. Poppy seed bagels, you will test positive. Do not eat poppy seeds because you'll come up positive for opioids. So avoid those before you go and do your drug test. Because we've had that happen. That's it. Is that it?
Okay, the last handout is the clinical lab peer validations. So we have lab number 2 and lab number 3 here. So these are skills that you are responsible for to know before we get into clinical, because these are the skills you'll be using in your clinical scenario situations. So what we're doing this year is we're going to have you have a peer, and you're going to practice these skills with your peer, and then sign each other off for the skill. Okay? So we gave, once you get your Pearson book, you'll have the skill reference number So the first number is the chapter they're in. So they're all referenced. So over the summer, toward the end of July, beginning of August, you'll be able to go into the lab and start practicing these skills. They're all spelled out in the book, step by step by step in the skills book that you're getting, nursing skills book you get. So some of them will be doing just in the lab time, like the mobility transfers on the first page, assisting with transfers, lifts. We're going to do it in the class. So just please start taking a look at these, reviewing these, get comfortable doing these skills, and then midway through the summer we'll start practicing. You can come in and practice in the lab. Get used to the lab, introduced to the lab, all the sections there. Ask the lab staff for help with some of these skills. So these are all the things that you'll be responsible for. And we'll talk about this more on the first day of school, but we really want you to get started looking at these, comfortable with these skills. Some of them might seem fairly simple, but you need to be comfortable doing these skills. So like washing your hands, putting on gloves, taking off gloves, things like that. So that's it for the booklet. We have set up for the fall semester. Get to it. With Castle Branch site. So this Blackboard site is going to be a way for us to communicate with you immediately almost, because your names are all in this Blackboard site. So you go to Blackboard. Right here. So for fall semester, this is what it looks like. It's going to come up on your Blackboard. It should be loaded today. Or yeah, your names are in it. TRCC, Nursing Comp, OLET, 001, Nursing Students, Communication and Orientation. So here's our announcements. So we'll start adding things to this through the summer. We'll put videos on for some of the skills that you'll be practicing with your skill reviews. So it just got built today, so that's why nothing's on it yet. But the fall students all have access to this Blackboard site. You can also send messages through this. Also, if you have questions about it, specific questions, you can send messages, but I don't know. I'd rather just do email right now. Yes?
The boot camp, is that mandatory for the spring semester?
No.
So you're gonna have another.
It's only for fall.
You're gonna
There
have.
will be one for spring. We haven't planned it yet.
Okay.
Possibly in December. It won't be in January because it'll be too close to school to when classes start.
Okay.
So it might be at the beginning, during the beginning of December. We'll do the boot camp for the spring semester. It is mandatory for all students because it's going to get you going and get ready for the fall semester. So I'll check. So fall students, you can check this site out, and I will make announcements as I keep adding information to it. Yes.
Will the similar site be made for the spring semester students?
Not yet,
But like I just meant.
I don't know. I'm not sure. This is the first time we've done this, so if it works, we'll do it. If not, we won't. So, any questions? Did we give you enough information? Did we overwhelm you? I'm sorry. It's all going to work out. We're all in this together. We have each other. You have all our emails, so please email us. Come visit us. Yes.
I have a question.
Hang on.
If there's any fall seats left after June 1st, could someone from spring register for that? Or
Say that one more time.
if there's a fall seat left after June 1st, can someone from spring register for those?
We have the list, so we will pick. We will notify the person.
Okay.
Yep. So, They did the arranging already, all the people have been contacted, whoever went to spring, whoever went to fall, has all been contacted. So it's, oh, one more thing, I know I have this here. Microbiology, if you need to take micro, there's 5 seats left for the fall semester students. Monday, Wednesday evening, 6 to 9. There's only 5 seats left and you need to register. We save them for the nursing students that need to do it. So if you need to take micro at the same time, because you haven't taken it, you have to take micro this semester if you haven't taken it yet. Okay, there's 5 seats left. We want you to take that Monday, Wednesday, because depending on what day of clinical you have, if you chose one of the other classes, you might not be able to get into be able to do clinical. So that's why we reserve Monday, Wednesday evening for you. Yes. Huh?
In the fall,
Yeah, for September. For the people that are in the fall nursing program, there's 5 seats left. So if there's people that need to take the micro, please register as soon as possible. They hold the spots for us and they're going to release them if you haven't registered. Don't take it another day. If you're in the fall class, don't take it another day. I highly recommend, if you haven't taken micro yet and you're in the spring, take it before you start. Highly recommend if you take micro before you start the nursing program. It's tough to do both at the same time. Anything else? Anybody else? Stand up. Well, welcome. I'm so glad you all came tonight, and we'll be in touch. The uniforms over here, if you need them,